Welcome back to Live and Let Live on the Logos Radio Network. I'm Gary Johnson. You can hear this program for 2 hours every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, and 6 Pacific. Archives of this program are available at logosradionetwork.com. In this hour, we're talking with Donna Voetee. She is better known as Granny Good Food on the Internet. And she's on Facebook, and she's going to explain to us how to get there, because I'm not a member of Facebook, so I can't go there. But she will explain to us where her website is. We're going to be talking about Agenda 21, and we're going to be talking about how it's being implemented locally, especially in her town of Lockhart, Texas. She is a member of the Stakeholder Plus Committee of the Sustainable Places Project. And if you've never heard of the Sustainable Places Project, you need to hear about it, and she's going to tell us all about it and what it is and why you need to know what it is. Donna Voetee, also known as Granny Good Food, welcome to Live and Let Live.
Thank you, Gary. I'm glad to be here.
So, Donna, how can we find Granny Good Food on the Internet?
Well, there is Facebook, and you do have to be a member to see my page, or you can go to grannygoodfood.blogspot.com, and I post a lot of my articles there. So, 2 ways.
Okay, and so on Facebook, it's Granny, is it -good -food, or
yes,
what
yes.
is it?
2 words, Granny, and then Good Food is hyphenated.
Okay. And you actually, we're going to talk a little bit about Agenda 21 and so forth, but you mostly talk about food.
Well,
right?
Mostly, and then some political things, and, this or that, and I have a lot of people that are my friends on Facebook who are mothers and fathers of vaccine-injured children, and so I help them a bit, and, they share their stories, and so I'm, helping them with their vaccine issues.
All right. You owned the Life Emporium. What was that?
The Life Emporium was quite a mix of things. It was a little bit health food store. It was a little bit women's center, a little bit classroom, a little bit raw milk dispensary. So it was quite a mix of things, and I had opened it for the purpose of sharing the books that I've written. 6 books called Supermarket Survival. Volume 1 is on aspartame. Volume 2 is on MSG. Volume 3 is on refined oils and fats. 4 is xenoestrogens. 5 is chemical colors, flavors, and preservatives. And the last one is on genetically engineered food. So I taught those books for 3 years when we came to Lockhart from California. And I had a great time. I met some wonderful people. We came here because my daughter moved here with her husband, and, they kidnapped our grandkids, so we had to move here too. So, we came to visit, and I fell in love with the place, and, small town, very little red tape, we thought. And, so we opened the store, and, for $14, I got a DBA. There was no business license required, and, with our landlord, we shook the deal with a hand. We made the deal with a handshake, and, I like that way of doing business, and I just like the ambiance and the attitude of the people. And, so we did the store for 3 years, and then we closed at the end of 2009. And then in 2010, I became a little more politically active. My husband had run for Congress in 1996 for the 37th Congressional District, and so we've always been a little bit politically leaning. And so I decided to run for mayor. And one thing that I had made for my business plan when I had the store was to get fluoride out of the water. And that's the only thing on my business plan I didn't accomplish. So I said, I'm going to run for mayor, and I'm going to make this my plank of getting the fluoride out and making Lockhart the healthiest city in Texas. So I did, and I got a whopping 42 votes. So there goes that. But when I was researching, I found something called the 2020 Comprehensive Plan that Lockhart had purchased in the year 2000, 6 years before we got there. And I was appalled. My heart sank, and I knew that, the world government had snuck in, and I don't know, if you know anything about the 2020 plan, it's in every city. It's the key to the front door of your city. If you just Google the name of your city, wherever you live, and the 2020 Comprehensive Plan, I guarantee you something's going to come up. And they're all the same thing. They're the cookie-cutter plan that is, meant to bring in world government. And I saw that, and my heart just sank. So the goal of this plan is to bring in communitarian law under something called regionalism. And let me read the vision that's on Lockhart's 2020 plan. I have it right here in front of me. Right. To have a vision means to look ahead, to imagine the future. Visioning is a process by which a community envisions its preferred future. A vision chronicles the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of a community and helps citizens agree on what they want their community to become. So that's what what Lockhart paid $8,333 per page for, and basically it's a lot of demographics. I would have done it for $1,000 a page, but never mind. So hopes and dreams and visions and aspirations, and and it says it's going to be a guide, an official public document adopted by the City Council to serve as a guide for policy decisions. So I'm sorry, but hopes, dreams, and aspirations of a community don't come under the realm of city policy. I mean, that's something for your mom and your dad and your pastor and your wife or your husband to work out. Government is force. It's law, period. Law is enforced at the barrel of a gun, and mixing those two really unsettled me. And so that was the 2020 plan, and that was in May 1st of 2010 was the election. So by the end of 2010 in December, something called Imagine Lockhart came along. It was a non-governmental organization, and on their website they said that their goal was to implement the 2020 plan. And I said, oh, no, you're not. So I locked horns with Imagine Lockhart. I wrote 2011, I exposed what they were doing through letters to the editor. I got on social media, Facebook. I spoke at City Council, and I reminded them that rat poison is 98% cornmeal. It's that other 2% that really gets you, And the kids that started this, they said, oh, we're unaffiliated, we're grassroots, and I proved, no, you're not. Imagine Cities began in 1958 with the Pennsylvania. It was the urban and regional planning. This new science of urban planning came up to imagine new cities, sponsored by Rockefeller, of course. And so I showed how this 2020 plan was going to implement things, sustainability, the sustainable development, and how I showed them, I said, meat consumption is not sustainable. And people, we are the barbecue capital of Texas. And you're going to embrace...
Lockhart is.
Yes, Lockhart is self-proclaimed, I think. But anyway, you're going to implement something that is going to undermine the very essence of what this city is. And I went on and on. I locked horns with Imagine Lockhart for a while. And what they did, the young people that started it, they were trained in geography, and I looked at some of the classes that were offered at San Marcos and in Austin, Marxist geography. So we're talking undermining...
Marxist geography?
Yes, sir. Marxist geography. There's a guy named Pete. I could bring it up on my computer here and give you the names. But I researched it. I got into the very details of the reasonings behind this Imagine Lockhart and all that. And it got so bad that the president of Imagine Lockhart served me with a cease and desist. So it got really gnarly. And then...
All right. Well, I want to ask you a little bit more about that.
Sure.
So you actually said something at the very beginning, Donna, as if you assumed that I knew all about this, but actually I had never heard of the 2020 comprehensive plan. And you say that the city of Lockhart bought this?
Yep, they bought it. It was written by some consultants. I have their name here. They paid over $100,000 for this document.
How big is Lockhart?
It's got about 13,000 people, but you'll see a comprehensive...
A city with 13,000 people bought a $100,000 plan?
Yep. But it gets worse. There are cities with only like 1,500 people. I saw one just recently. Is it Wood Creek? They have a comprehensive plan. Every city is going to have some form of a comprehensive plan, because that is how Agenda 21 is coming to your city. They're not going to roll in with their white trucks and their blue helmets and, taking your car and taking your barbecue and taking your air conditioning. They're going to do it by something called incrementalism, little bit by little bit. They're going to send in people that look like you, that talk like you. They're not going to send in people in, uniforms. They found out that doesn't work too well.
Donna, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about this. You say, I take it that Lockhart has some sort of Imagine Lockhart program.
Well, it's a non-governmental organization, and it's, they say they're going to help keep the trash picked up and beautify Lockhart, and, they do run the farmers market, and I don't have a problem with that, but I do have a problem when they go into planning and zoning and try to rezone everything, and when they write grants to the federal government to bring in projects like this, and that's how we got Sustainable Places. They wrote a grant to get this, and it was a little cadre of people, just Imagine Lockhart and their friends, that got this whole thing going in Lockhart. So it wasn't of the people, by the people, and for the people. It was a little cabal of just friends doing the dirty work here. So that happened in August of 2011. They wrote for the grant, and then in May of 2012, they had their first meeting. And my friend Tracy and I went to their meeting, and the lady from CAPCOG, which stands for Capital Area Council of Governments, who's running the show, she wasn't too happy that the public was there, but to his credit, our planning and zoning director, he, allowed us to stay. So I talked to one of the fellows that were on this committee already, and I said, hey, get me in. So he did. And so I've been attending their meetings and sending emails, informative emails out to them, which they are not appreciated very much, but that's beside the point. So that was 2012, so it's been almost a year. They've had these meetings, and let me read to you. There's an article that was in the paper just a couple of weeks ago. Actually, it was January 24th, saying, Building Tomorrow's Lockhart Today. Sustainable Places Project continues with hands-on January 31st workshop. And these workshops, they invite the public to come and write down on these little sticky notes what you envision you want for your city. And that's one part of it. Then the other part is to hand out these little computer handheld little button things. It's called the analytical tool. And they'll have questions up there, A, B, C, or D, and you pick which one you want. Well, the problem with that is that who's watching? I mean, we see national elections stolen, with software in electronic voting, and there's no one watching. And so they are predetermined, preconceived outcomes, and I've seen two of the papers, one from Elgin and one from Lockhart, and they're saying the scenario ABC, B is always the one that's chosen. So anyway, it's all it's predetermined, and they don't expect us to be comparing notes with these other 5 cities or with the other 4 cities. And let me back up a little bit. There's Lockhart, Elgin, Hutto, Dripping Springs, and Austin. So those 5 cities got this grant called Sustainable Places Project Grant, which ultimately came from the Partnership for Sustainable Communities, which is a triumvirate of HUD, EPA, and the Department of Transportation. In 2009, they formed this, and I'll just read from their own work.
Before you read that,
sure.
Donna, I think it's a key point here that we pay for that because we pay taxes to the federal government, but these local communities are chasing all of this grant money, the free money from the Washington, and I guess the UN as well, and so that's really the key to all this is it's all being driven by grant money.
Absolutely, and it's not free. There is a really hefty price to pay, and it's not just in money, and we'll get into that, which is really the most important point that we need to focus on is that this free grant is really a means of selling out our soul to regionalism and communitarian law and giving up our most precious, unalienable rights. So we need to discuss that.
But you were going to read something. Go ahead.
The Sustainable Communities, this unholy triumvirate, I call them. There are 6 livability principles. Provide more transportation choices, promote equitable, affordable housing, enhance economic competitiveness, support existing communities, coordinate and leverage federal policies and investment, value communities and neighborhoods. So you'll see those principles in all their documents, whether it's Sustainable Places, whether it's the 2020 plan, it's just everywhere. So those are the 6 things that are trying to be implemented.
Can you go through those 6 a little more slowly? And
sure.
Why should we be concerned about those 6 things?
Okay.
What's wrong with those 6 things? Aren't they wonderful?
Yeah, right. Well, the livability principles involve provide more transportation choices. And this is hogwash because their choices are your feet or a bicycle because your car or your pickup is an evil fossil fuel burning thing that has to be gotten rid of. So those are the transportation choices, and the area that's dealing with that is called CAMPO, Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, and I have their documents. I've seen it. They want to, get people riding bicycles and walking, and there's nothing wrong with that if that's your choice. But to bring it in by regulation and enforcement is something else.
Right.
And the second one was promote equitable, affordable housing. There you go. Government housing. I'm sorry, but the government has one thing to do, and that's to secure our rights for those of us who consent. It's not to house us. It's not to feed us. It's not to, equitable. There you go. Equity. That is the point of a gun. That is justice, and social justice is one of the things that were mentioned in the letters that were submitted in the application. We want
so people
to
cannot have big houses because they should be equitable.
Well, people cannot have single-family homes because those are not sustainable. And that's another thing that they're trying to do is get rid of single-family homes because their urban sprawl is the devil. It's evil. You have to, give up that and go into these little 600-square-foot IKEA pods and you can't live in a single house because it's not sustainable.
All right. And what was the next one?
Enhance economic competitiveness. And what that means, when you see the economy, you're looking at redistribution of the wealth. That's all that it means. It's redistribution of the wealth from the Western world into third world countries, through the United Nations, through the IMF. That's all it means.
So this is a key point here, Donna. When they use terms like sustainability, it's not like the word out of the dictionary. You have to know what they really are talking about.
Absolutely. And if you look up the actual meaning of the word, sustainable means to hold under. And basically they're holding us under the auspice of world government.
All right, we are talking with Donna Voetee, also known as Granny Good Food on Facebook and Blogspot. We are live on Sunday, March 17th, and we do have a call from Jack, and we will take his call after the break. If you would like to call in, the number is 512-646-1984. We're talking about Donna's knowledge about Agenda 21. She is a member of the Stakeholder Plus Committee of the Sustainable Places Project in Lockhart, where she's learning firsthand the inside information about what's going on with these plans for regionalism from the United Nations, which is coming to a town near you. We have Jack on the line. Jack, what do you have to say to Donna Voetee?
Well, Donna, you know, I've lived in Central Texas for most of my life. I've been almost 80 years old. And I see the erosion of private enterprise and personal property rights, etc. What can a man do, a person do, that doesn't have a lot of time and a lot of mobility? How can somebody like myself help stem the tide?
Good question, Jack. Very good question. The first thing that comes to mind is pray hard. Seriously, you know, God is our help now, and I firmly believe that, because this is just so insidious. It's so entrenched in every aspect of government, every level. Seriously, pray hard. Gary, what would you say?
Well, I think that you need to be informed. That is certainly one thing, and to speak out is another thing. A lot of this stuff goes on, as you're pointing out here, Donna, without people knowing about it at all. And another thing that happens is that even when you find out about it, it turns out that they sort of disguise it. They use all sorts of tactics. So I guess one thing is be informed and be willing to speak up when they try these various tactics. I know that in particular one of the things they do, Donna, is they try to manipulate people into thinking that they have some sort of say in the design of these plans, but actually they don't.
Absolutely. Yes, the article I was referring to earlier, it said, come to the meeting and we'll discuss housing, transportation, economic development, community health and vitality, the environment, and more. And it will reflect community goals and values. Come to the visioning workshop where consultants and their analytical tool are just waiting to match up your vision and values for building tomorrow's Lockhart. But that's a lie, because all their values and goals are predetermined, and I can prove it by reading from the Earth Charter, which is part of the United Nations and inherent in this Agenda 21 implementation.
So I guess, Jack, that's part of the answer is, getting informed and also be willing to speak out and criticize things. That doesn't really cost a whole lot.
No, I understand that, and cost wasn't a factor in my question. It was just, for instance, I had no idea. I don't live very far from Lockhart. I had no idea what that was.
Okay, Jack, next week, actually on the 28th, there's another meeting. So it will be in the newspaper, in the Lockhart Post-Register. If you can at all, show up to those meetings and hold their feet to the fire. I did it. I go to these meetings, and I ask them questions. Why are you going to take 14 parking places away from the square? What's that going to do to our elderly people who want to shop there? Where are they going to park? But they have to take those parking places away to get rid of the vehicles, and they're planning on making more green space, more open space. That's not right.
You know, this reminds me, it reminds me so much of things that were happening in Russia in the 70s. I was over there working, and I saw some very similar things to what you were talking about. And
yes,
of course, over there it was not covert at all. It was overt, but it's essentially the same thing.
You are absolutely right, Jack. In fact, what we're looking at is governance by council. And in Russian, the Russian language, the word council is Soviet.
Right, that's right. The other thing is that they just mandate it. In other words, they just write it into law. I mean, of course, there was a parliament and all that is a joke, but if you had to have a permit to have a car. I mean, you didn't go down and just buy a license plate. You had to have a permit. You had to go prove that you had the necessity was and that you had a car. And the only proof that allowed you to have a car was a government ticket that said you were doing something for the government and they wanted you to have a car. And all this stuff sounds like it's just moving that direction. You know, I'm thinking I got 22 grandkids.
So it's the same old stuff, but now under the guise of saving the earth.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, it's the same thing.
I just don't have any sense of more than just an ordinary person like myself, how it could impact it. I mean, I don't want to be negative about it. I'm just trying to figure out what can I do.
Well, let me ask you some questions about this, Donna, because apparently they are afraid of you. You mentioned earlier that you got some sort of cease and desist order. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, it was served from the lawyer who's the president of Imagine Lockhart. I was posting on Facebook, and they told me don't say that, and I was getting too close to the truth. I was,
yes.
Sharing the truth, and they didn't like it, and so
you must be doing something.
Yeah, exactly.
You must be having an impact for them to be that concerned about you.
Right. And at one of the last meetings, they had a police officer there because, there's somebody, this little old granny in Lockhart that is a troublemaker. That's what they called me after I left. I had friends that were still at the meeting, and one of the CapCog henchmen went over to the officer and said, "Oh, thank you for coming. She's such a troublemaker." If they only knew. So, the way I make trouble is just by sharing truth.
Right. So I go back to what you were saying earlier, Jack. It sounds to me like you feel like, one person cannot make a difference and, you're up against all these great odds. But I think that Donna's showing that one person can make a difference. She must be making some sort of difference because they're trying to stop her.
Right. I think it's wonderful, and kudos to her for that. And we'll go to the meeting and see what we can churn up down there.
Good. Jack, are you on Facebook? Can you connect with me there? I'd love to stay in touch with you.
I don't indulge in electronic media.
Okay. Well, that's all right. You'll see my letters to the editor in the newspaper.
I'll find out about that meeting and attend it.
Good.
I really appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you too, Jack. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing this up.
You're welcome.
But it's a big subject.
All right. Thank you, Jack.
Sure.
Thank you for calling in. All right, and that's how it's done, folks. The number is 512-646-1984. We are live on Sunday, March 17th. We're coming up on a break here, Donna, so we'll talk more about this after the break. But there is an event coming up on March 21st at the Bastrop Opera House, in which they're going to be having a guest speaker there. And I want you to tell us more about that when we come back from the break. We're talking with Donna Voetee. She's also known as Granny Good Food. You can link up with her on Facebook.com at Granny Good Food, and you can also read her blog at grannygoodfood.blogspot.com. You're listening to Live and Let Live on the Logos Radio Network. I'm Gary Johnson. We were just talking with our caller Jack about what can one person do to make a difference, and really one person can do a lot to kind of mess up their whole the planning sessions. And Donna, I wanted you to tell us a little bit about an event that's coming up on March 21st at 6:30 p.m. at the Bastrop Opera House, in which Rosa Corey is going to be coming in.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Hopefully she'll mention the Sustainable Places Project and how this is going along, a lot like what I'm talking about. But she has the big picture. She's been studying this for a long time. And, this is not a Republican, Democrat issue. We are all Americans. And, Rosa is a liberal Democrat, and a lot of people that are fighting this are conservative Republicans. It doesn't matter. We're all Americans, and if we don't stand together, we're not going to have our nation much longer. So I would encourage everyone to come out and hear Rosa Corey speak at the Bastrop Opera House this coming Thursday at 6. Well, get there early because it only holds 150 people. It is a free event. You don't have to pay anything. And also, in the meantime, I would really encourage you to see her videos on YouTube, and also get something called the 2020 plan. It's by Nikki Rapana. And 2020, Our Common Destiny, and the Anti-Communitarian Manifesto. For $17, you download it off the internet. You can start reading it tonight. Really, people, Jack asked what he could do. Educate yourself. Spend $17. Get this ebook. It's $24 if you have to send off for it and get the hard copy. Start educating yourself. They have documented, they have been fighting this a long time. And Rosa, she took a lot of her knowledge. Nikki is the one that did a lot of the original research. So get that book for $17 and come out and see Rosa. Get connected, talk to people, do your homework, and start learning what a Republican form of government really is. I bet not 1 out of 10 people could identify what that means, Republican form of government. So start educating yourself and learn the truth, so when these lies come along, you'll be able to shoot them down.
Donna, one time people need to speak up, and I wanted you to kind of give people a picture of this. Is in Lockhart, it was called the visioning session, but it is this thing where supposedly you're going to help plan things, but it's all pre-packaged, and these people who are leading the process, they don't really want to hear what you have to say. They just want you to rubber stamp their plan. Can you kind of lead people through, what they can expect and how they can be on alert for this, and what they should do when they encounter this sort of session?
Well, yeah, they'd say, come to these meetings, we'll match up your vision and values for building tomorrow's Lockhart. But let me read something from the Earth Charter, and I will prove to you that is not true. They already have their goals. Their vision is already set, and they're trying to make you think that what they have planned is your idea. Isn't that brilliant? So,
yes.
It's brilliant. I'm reading exact words from the Earth Charter, and then you can compare that to what I read from the newspaper article from the Sustainable Places in the newspaper. At a time when major changes in how we think and live are urgently needed, the Earth Charter challenges us to examine our values and to choose a better way. I'm going to stop right there. What if my values are unalienable rights, the right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, consent of the governed, consent of the people, the government to secure my rights? What if those are my values? This.
Are you allowed to talk about those things?
No, because those are not the values that they're trying to implement. That's what they're trying to do away with. So they presuppose, they're begging the question, examine our values and to choose a better way. They're already telling you what they're planning on doing.
But you can't talk about what you want to do.
Oh, no. Well, we do, but anyway. And then the Earth Charter...
You're not supposed to. You're a troublemaker if you do that.
Exactly. And they have the police there for you. The Earth Charter encourages us to embrace a new global ethic that is shared by an ever-growing number of people throughout the world. There you go. We have to break down those national borders, give up our national sovereignty. Let's just all be one happy family, global family, not Americans. That's a bad word. So whenever I can, I use the word American. Yeah, I'm not going to be a global, I'm an American, and I'm going to use that. And then fundamental changes are needed in our values, institutions, and ways of living. There you go. Fundamental changes are needed in our values, institutions, and ways of living. These are in the Earth Charter, and the Earth Charter is the guiding document that the Sustainable Places Project is following. So you can come in with your values, but who's going to say that little sticky note that you put on the map, that's going to get lost because, your values are not their values. It's all predetermined. The game is already set before you walk in the door.
Their values, who are they? There are so many of these organizations, and there's ICLEI and so forth. So, when you're in a small town, how do you know, the United Nations has come to town? I mean, what do you look for?
Well, you look for the implementation of these buzzwords: sustainable development, community, balancing our rights. Anytime you see those, regionalism, anytime you see those buzzwords, you know that world government is right there under your nose. Okay.
So now, in Lockhart in particular, how long has this been going on, and how is Lockhart, in the early stages, in the middle stages, or do you think it's lost? It's been taken over? How far along is Lockhart in the plot?
Well, the 2020 plan was bought in 2000, so we'd be a little more than halfway. But this Sustainable Places Project, it seems like in all the cities across Central Texas, Elgin, Hutto, and Dripping Springs, and Lockhart, things are kind of reaching a crescendo at the end of this month. So there's meetings everywhere. So I encourage people to get involved, go to those meetings, and then before it's implemented, it will go before the city council. So it's critical to show up at the city council, write letters, call, make your point known, call your city councilman, call your mayor, call your city manager, get involved and let your voice be known and, speak up.
Well, Jack earlier said that, he hadn't even heard about this stuff. How do people find out about these things?
Well, you see, they don't want everybody knowing about it, so they keep it quiet to their little friends, and even though they say, the public's invited, well, yeah, really? And that's what I brought up at this last meeting. I said, you don't really want everyone knowing about this. You want to get your dirty work done with as few people as possible, so rebel rousers, troublemakers like me don't come down here and ask you hard questions like, where are those 14 parking places going? They don't want people showing up, even though they say they do. So you just gotta, call the city hall and find out when these meetings are going to happen. Speak up about it. You get 3 minutes at every city council meeting, which I think is a joke. I mean, why we are the owners of the government? Why are they giving us 3 minutes to talk to our servants? So, go down there and speak up while you can, say what you can, learn about this, come out to hear Rosa, get Nikki Rapana's book, educate yourself, and you're going to be so mad you won't be able to be quiet.
Okay. So again, Rosa Corey is going to be at the Bastrop Opera House on March 21st at 6:30 p.m. And Donna, you people can go to your Facebook at Granny Good Food, and they can link up with you and get information.
Absolutely. If they contact me through Facebook or my blog, that's fine. I could give my email. I don't know if I want to do that right now. I don't want to get spammed. But through Facebook
okay, but they can read about you at grannygoodfood.blogspot.com.
Yes.
And, share information, find out what's going on, and, that they don't want you to know about this, and they don't want you showing up at their meetings because you're just a troublemaker, and they want you to cease and desist messing up their plans. But that's really where the power is to expose this and to speak up about it. Donna Voetee, also known as Granny Good Food, thank you for joining us here on Live and Let Live.
Thank you very much.
Again, you can go to Facebook.com, Granny Good Food, to find out more about what Donna is doing. You've been listening to Live and Let Live on the Logos Radio Network for Sunday, March 17th. This program was directed by Nate Thomas. The executive in charge of production was Deborah Stevens. Archives of this program are available at logosradionetwork.com. I'm Gary Johnson. Good night.